So it's a deal when it's something you want and a discussion when Nicole wants it?
Ooh. This is a burn. This is game, set, and match for Laura Dern. Hey everyone, Luke Lee here, television and film actor and practicing lawyer in Singapore. Now today we are going to be reacting to one of my favorite films called Marriage Story. It's starring Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. Marriage Story is something which I find very, very fun to watch for me because I have a focus on family law as a lawyer. So without further ado, let's go in.
You take some breaths. And while you do, I'm going to tell you about myself. If you should choose to hire me, I will work tirelessly for you. And I'm always available by phone or text, except when I'm with my kids. I insist on doing drop-off and pick-up every day at school.
I understand.
I've been through this myself. Thank you, Annie. So, I know how it feels.
This is really, really good on the part of Laura Dern. How easily it is to reach you a lawyer is such an important thing, especially because, as you can see, Scarlett Johansson's really emotional right now. This is some great relationship building as well as empathy, which is often overlooked in the legal profession.
Oh, can you tell me a little more about what's going on? Because part of what we're going to do together is tell your story.
It's difficult to articulate.
Oftentimes, especially with Scarlett Johansson coming in, they are very, very distraught. And they are actually doing this thing where they feel like they cannot adequately articulate everything that's been going on because it's such a whirlwind of emotions. Like, divorce is very, very tough. I can't stress this enough. It's very tough because there's so much things that you have to figure out and your whole life is laid bare.
You were married here in LA?
Yes, because her mom and sister are out here and I'm not close with my
Your
family.
son was born out here.
Yes, because again, her mom and sister are out here and I'm not.
So you got married here, your kid was born here, and she served you here.
Yeah, but we lived in New York. Why?
Now we see a very different kind of lawyer here because these lawyers are known as like the sharks, or they're known as the very adversarial kind of lawyers. So this may not necessarily be a good thing if you're looking for a divorce on an uncontested basis. He's actually trying to push him to make this a contested divorce, which is not in the best interest of the client.
You take your kid, did you say his name was Fred?
Henry.
Henry, why did I say Fred?
He's forgotten the name of Adam Driver's son. You should not do that because it shows you don't have any rapport.
Do we ask for support? Interesting.
From Nicole? I'm not going to do that.
Does your wife's family have money?
Her mother has some from her TV career, and her father died.
Well, we could say that we don't want her mother to see the kid. Draw her into the case.
In that instance, her mother could pay your legal fees.
No.
This is the sad, really, really harsh reality of dollars and cents. When it comes down to the ancillary matters, when you have a divorce, these will be, generally speaking, split. Parties can also agree which ones to take, which ones to take. Right now, it seems like the lawyer for Adam Driver is really advising him to try and claim for a lot of things. So I think this scene is kind of a parallel to the scene of Nora being Scarlett Johansson's lawyer, because it's sort of showing there are two very different kinds of lawyers. That's why I love this scene so much, because it just really shows that for the same kind of divorce, there's so many ways you can look at it and so many ways you can establish rapport or not.
If we get bogged down in who did this and who did that, and I don't want to pay the $2, it'll just cost you more in money and time and emotional stress, and you'll probably end up with the same result anyway.
Right. I mean, I agree with that philosophy. She does too, I'm sure.
He is a very, very different kind of attorney. He, I think, is more conciliatory as well as more inclined to settle and reach an uncontested kind of divorce.
Keep in mind, you'll have to pay for her lawyer.
Oh, I didn't. What?
Well, at least part of her. It doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, you're doing this because you love your kid. And in doing so, you're draining money from your kid's education.
One of the things that the plaintiff can do is actually claim legal costs for the proceedings. So in effect, you would have to pay significant amounts of the other party's legal fees. And it's a sad fact that, you know, these really, really long divorce cases will actually drain your expenses and your assets. So you got to look at that and really ask yourself, is this worth it? Is it worth it for me to actually contest this divorce on such a long basis? We do actually advise clients not to do so if they don't have a good reason.
Nicole is Henry's primary custodial parent, and to the extent that Charlie would like to exercise his custodial time, he should be making efforts to visit Henry here in California.
Nora, you seem to be ignoring the fact that they lived in New York for 10 years.
My client worked in New York for several years, that's true. But Nicole was born and bred right here in LA. She and Charlie would come here most holidays and summers to spend time with her family, who all live in LA.
This is either done usually at a neutral location, probably at a location which is not each of the lawyer's offices, just because it would be not, you know, advantageous to either one.
Now, while I understand that Charlie lives in New York, and when it's convenient to his work schedule, he flies out to see his son.
He flies out here every chance he gets at
I
great
don't see
expense.
any reason that you can't be out here
He
full
makes his
time.
living in New
Oh,
York.
sorry. Do we want to contemplate lunch?
Good idea.
I'll order now so it'll come when we're all hungry.
Yeah.
Everyone good with mayonnaise?
They were talking about the different kinds of evidence as to what kind of care control arrangements they want. Usually, if they're getting into that kind of meat and potatoes kind of thing, you would not want to interrupt. But having said that, these kind of things can be a full day affair, so people do get hungry.
Charlie, is this like the deal that you made that you and Nicole would spend more time in LA during your marriage?
We didn't have a deal. It was something we discussed. But
So it's a deal when it's something you want and a discussion when Nicole wants it?
This is a burn. This is game, set, and match for Laura Dern. That was something which really sort of sets the tone for pointing out the hypocrisy of the husband in being the fact that it's a deal when he makes it, but not a deal when Scarlett Johansson makes it.
and I'm doing that because I want to see my kid, not to set a precedent.
Yes, but unfortunately, you are setting a precedent. And a judge might look at it that way.
What's the alternative? I stay in New York and never come out here?
No, because then it would look to the court like you don't care about seeing your son.
Court or no court? Stop saying court and then never court.
Well, the way this is going, we may have to go to court.
Are you aware of how maddening you sound?
I am. And I know it seems unfair. Listen, if I were representing you...
You are representing me.
Right, no, of course, no. I don't see a judge moving this child from California. I think we try and settle today.
Settle meeting what?
She gets LA.
No, Bert, just no. I mean, we have to win this.
Right now, what they've been doing is they've actually gone for sidebar. Now, sidebar is a term used for when you're actually talking to your client. So right now, in this breakout room, the Adam Driver's lawyer is saying you should settle. This is something which he could have, in my view, actually prepared beforehand, just because you should give your clients anticipation, at least that there is always some kind of risk that it may actually end up going for trial. So that is why you should tell them about all the options beforehand. Right now, it doesn't seem like he's doing so, and that's why Adam Driver is entitled to feel like, you know, what the hell? Why are you suddenly springing so many options on me? It's very easy for clients to think of things as a win or loss scenario. I always say, no matter who wins, there always is damage after you get what you want, because no one comes out of a divorce clean. You know, everything ends up being messy. It is a very messy and tough process. Yeah.
10 years ago, Charlie takes a risk when he first hires Nicole as an actress in his play in New York City. He's a well-regarded, up-and-coming director of the avant-garde. And she's known as the girl in that college sex movie who takes her top off.
My client will not be
10
slut
years
shamed for
on,
an artistic
and
choice.
many prestigious theater roles later, she becomes an actress of great credibility. And it's because of that credibility that she's offered the lead role in a major television show. New opportunity is thanks to Charlie. Your Honor, we shouldn't have to pay support money at this point. In fact, Charlie is entitled to half her TV money, present and future earnings of the show.
You have to actually mention what the previous livelihood or the previous lifestyle and earning potential, especially if the wife, for example, or the husband is someone who is earning money already and she's contributing to it as a member of society, she's employed or he is employed, then you would it would stand to reason that there does not need to be as much maintenance paid to that spouse. I would, of course, refrain from any kinds of insults as to character, as to her taking her top off and that kind of stuff. That's just not polite and also not courteous at all. And you would actually be told off by the judge.
Charlie's just received the enormous sum of $650,000 in the form of a MacArthur grant. This is for the theater work he conducted during the marriage.
Installments over 5 years.
So by Jay's same logic, this is work that Nicole contributed to in numerous ways.
And to pay back.
It seems like they're talking across each other. This is not advisable to do so just because it muddies the record, it mixes up the transcription. Generally, don't talk over each other. Yeah.
Not only did she turn down a lucrative and successful career in movies to perform in his little theater, but she actually supplied Charlie with a loan early on to help out.
Which he paid back.
She lent her name to the marquee, which was the principal reason people came to the theater.
Well, that may have been true 10 years ago.
And in turn, she helped establish Charlie's reputation. Now, over the next 10 years, she was subsequently offered parts in movies, TV shows, most of which she turned down at Charlie's behest to be a mom and act in his plays.
The biggest thing I can take from here, which is very, very true to life, is what Laura Dern is doing, which is showing the non-financial contributions that Scarlett Johansson has made towards the family. Now, there are different kinds of contributions. It doesn't mean that if you're earning money means that's the only way you can contribute to a family. There are things like indirect and non-financial contributions, things like taking care of the kids, bringing them to classes, bringing them to ballet. And as you can see, one of the big things here is loss of potential. Nora's trying to make the case that all these turned down opportunities for Scarlett Johansson to advance her career were not done so because she had put her family first. So therefore, this should be included in her contributions.
I don't see how you can claim that she gets $500,000 dedicated to his genius.
He became a genius during the course of the marriage.
Oh, come on, Laura.
Charlie himself, upon hearing that he received the prize, told Nicole that it belonged to her too.
That's what people say when they win awards.
No, he was implying what was true. His genius was an intangible asset built during the marriage.
As a rule of thumb, all tangible assets during a marriage, be it whatever is acquired during the marriage, be it stock, be it money, cars, houses, these are all subject and up for division when it comes to divorce. So it's fair game. Whatever is required before the marriage, no. That's how it is, you know. So I don't know, a bit of a stretch, Nora. This is a very, very true to life account, and one of my favorite scenes as well for Marriage Story, which is just showing the practical reality of how difficult it is to actually go for a divorce. As much as possible as lawyers, we try to make it such that it's not as impactful and not as traumatic to go through this experience as possible and achieve, hopefully, some form of closure. That brings me to the end of Lawyer Reacts to Marriage Story. Thank you so much for hearing my reactions. And if you guys have any other episodes or TV shows for me to react to, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm Luke Lee. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.